Dear Thor, this season I was able to climb from 2000 to 2500 SR, but I seem to dip in and out of blood every few games. I play mainly Anna, Mercy or occasionally Lucio Baptiste. I felt like I was doing everything I could this game, but we still lost. I'm aware that my aim could definitely be better, but I'm not so sure how to improve my positioning or ability usage. Overall, I can't seem to carry my games as support. Do I just get bad teammates? Or do I suck? Name, Yeri. Hero, Anna. The game was played on 2487 season rating. Alright, Yeri, let's take a look into the game and see if your claim is correct or not. Alright, Yeri, let's take a look if your team is actually the problem or if we can fix your positioning and ability usage so that you can carry more. We are playing here with a Reinhardt, Rotok, and as a Metra, so immediately I would think about, right, like my job would be to support the Reinhardt, to take frontline pressure, to have this Metra do something, and so on. So you stay a little bit back, keep healing, your Ryan gets hooked and immediately dies. Meanwhile your soldier takes the flank on the left side, Rotok is pushing the right side. Almost killed the McCree there. Now your second healer is dead, so you're basically 2 down. You're only 1 down now. And he's putting your Rotok to do his job right now. Keeping in high HP. He gets another hook in. You don't really see what's going on. Now you can scout and great nade there. Hitting up Symmetra. The Symmetra ult does not really help the team, but alright. Okay. There was one thing I definitely want to mention when it comes to the first fight. And the thing I want to point out here is your scope modus. Basically, right at the start here, you see this Metra right in front of you and you're already scoping. Now, there are some disadvantages when it comes to the scoping. Number one, obviously, your movement is greatly reduced. Number two, you are easier of a target because you're easier to hit. And the third option is, or the third problem with scoped in, is that your vision is so much decreased. Like you see way less compared to if you're not scoped. Like right now, you have the full overview. You see, okay, as my Reinhardt, I see this in Metra here, and I can even maybe glimpse it by soldiers going to high ground. So all of this is kind of in your line of sight. When you scope in, you see this Metra here, and the moment this Metra goes a little bit to the left, you cannot even see a Reinhardt anymore. Basically, the only thing you see right now is this Metra that you want to heal, but Reinhardt is gone. So this is the problem when scoping in, especially so close range, because you cannot really react to what else is happening on the field. Right now, your Symmetra is relatively safe, so the priority of healing her up is relatively low. Obviously, if we scope out, zoom out here, we see, okay, nobody is in a dangerous spot other than maybe the Symmetra, so obviously completely fine to heal her up. But imagine the Reinhardt gets hooked right now in this moment, and he would already be in here. You have no idea, you wouldn't even see it. So, especially when it comes to this kind of close range, you want to almost always use the projectiles, because the projectile traveling speed is so not to be accounted for, because the distance is so slow. Obviously, right, like as we all know, unscoped shots are projectiles, so they have a traveling speed, and they are not healing instantaneously, which also makes the quick scope, what you do right here, a great alternative, especially if you need to heal on long distance instantaneously. But as I mentioned before, if you have this character really close, then you always want to make sure that you not scope in to have a better overview of the fight and can react better to certain situations. And we can see this in a second here again, where right now you're healing with a normal left click, not scoped in. I think it's perfect because you now can also see what's going on with the Rotok, what's going on the right side with the Metra. You maybe even see the glimpse of the soldier, and you have really more opportunities or like awareness to know kind of what do I have to do and where does my priority go for. And here again, right, like you're healing the Symmetra with scoped in modus, you don't even see that the Reinhardt is pushing right now. And the Symmetra, as we already talked about, is super safe here. She even used her ultimate for herself, almost at least. So there's no need to keep healing the Symmetra. It would be way more efficient to just heal up our Reinhardt, so you can keep pushing. And at the same time, obviously, you also want to push towards him, so that he can turn around the corners without closing your LLS. Alright. Let's see, keep going, and see a look about the second fight. So you're going back a little bit, your Reinhardt is still pushing forward. Now you move to him again. Nano boost to save him, and a nade to follow up. Again, some scoped action. But the Reinhardt with the nano boost kind of cleared house. Now there's still somebody in the high ground. They're pushing in, meanwhile your Reinhardt is also low. And you die here. Like, there we kind of see the second major problem, which you also discussed, is the positioning. Alright, like, when it comes to positioning, preparation is key. And what I mean with preparation is that right in this moment after the fight is won, you want to think about, okay, like, what is happening? Where do I expect the fight to happen in the next seconds? And obviously right now, we would say, hey, my team is pushed up. I imagine as an Anna, that especially with the team's, how my team's position, or especially my Reinhardt, that he wants to fight somewhere in this area. So I want to make sure that after you notice, you want to position yourself in a location that you have value in this area. So what could this be? You could obviously bang here, where you can see the Reinhardt. You can also say, hey, I'm going to the high ground, if this would be possible, and go from there. Or you even put yourself really close to the Reinhardt here, so that if he pushes in, maybe even with speed boost, that you are really quickly on following up. Now, all of these different positions have obviously also risk involved. And now comes the hardest part after you kind of figured out, let's say position 1, 2, or 3, that you think about, okay, what are the risks that I'm facing, and what is now the best kind of position with the maximum amount of value and the minimum amount of risk that you can take. And this obviously depends a lot on the enemy team and the whole situation, including cooldowns, HP, ultimates, and the positioning of your teammates, of your other teammates. Now, again, here it comes really in this kind of experimentation phase where there will not always be the best position for you available. But right now, I would say, okay, my Reinhardt does not have Shatter, I have Nano Boost. We can maybe look for a really early aggressive fight. So right now, you can say, okay, I want to then stay close to my Reinhardt, play basically at the bench here. You know, you can sit down on the bench as an old lady as you are, and just basically heal him up here. And then the moment kind of the McCree pushes in, or anybody else, you just Nano Boost him and hope basically that he pushes in together with you right next to him. Obviously, there's exposed to you to a danger that is here on the right side, which you cannot really like defend yourself with, but your defense against this right side in this case would be the push forward, because the moment kind of your Nano Boost Reinhardt, you would expect that he obviously wants to swing in this moment, and this allows you to just follow up with him and anti-LOS anybody who comes from the right side, because we are pushing in here together with your Reinhardt. And this example, what I just kind of played out, is obviously just one option that you can use. There are so many more different scenarios that you can kind of play around, depending also on how your playstyle is. Are you somebody who likes to play aggressive, somebody likes to play defensive, and so on. And the same comes obviously is true here, right now. What can you do? You can either say, hey, I want to push with my Reinhardt up. Obviously, we have the risk of somebody comes from here. So the first thing I would do if I want to push up, I want to not scope in. I would make a quick look on the right side. Is it safe for me to go? If you say, oh, the situation like it is right now, I say it's safe enough for me. I now want to push up with my Reinhardt to keep supporting him and basically stay away from this dangerous sideline in a way that you kind of cross the corner here, because you are really comfortable playing around behind your big Reinhardt to block the damage that comes from there. Again, this would be also one option. You can also just say, no, I want to just play more on the point. Then, yeah, you do have to do one of each, right? Like you cannot do both, because if you do both, what you just mentioned, what you just saw, is that you just die because you stay in the open space for too long without anybody to protect you. So we skip one fight and let's see what's going on in this one. So you're standing behind again, doing some scope action, trying to have the roadblock here. Now we beat in, and at the same time you sleep the roadblock on the left side and try to nade him. Some ultimates get used there on the right side. Your Reinhardt is charging super aggressively. I think he wanted to make an aggressive play there. Maybe calculated the beat a little bit wrong. And the Reaper comes in right now. He's able to touch. Try to sleep dot him. They're great nade. Obviously with the intention to keep your Roadhog alive, and then you're dead from there on. So, a couple of things, but I want to focus here mainly on the point of cooldown usage. So let's go back to the first one. Basically, we just look at all of the cooldowns that they used so far in this fight. Now, Now, so we see basically at the start that your Lucio was beating, and you, as a reaction also of seeing the rotor flank on the left side, slapped him and then tried to nade him. Now, when it comes to cooldown usage, it's always kind of the same idea. You want to use cooldowns in a way that you give most value. But how do you get value out of your anti-nade, out of your sleep dart in most cases? Option number one, you eliminate a threat. Let's say the Roadhog was flanking, he was about to hook somebody, and you naded him. You slapped him. This is eliminating the threat. And the second option is, if you, for example, use a nade aggressively, the same way also a sleep dart aggressively, you need teammates to follow up on this. Because if you use a cooldown to, for example, anti-nade somebody, and this will not guarantee you a kill or like a positive cooldown trade from the enemy team, then this cooldown was useless. So let's get back in here and think about the sleep dart that you made here on the Roadhog. Right, like right in this moment, we have to think about ourselves. First of all, is there follow-up potential on this Roadhog? And we say, yeah, there could be follow-up potential in the perfect world, right, where everybody turns around immediately. But in our ranked environment, especially on the rank that you are right now, right, I don't assume any communication. We notice that right now, our attention of the enemy team is obviously towards here. Like we already vault here, our team is looking to push there, we just use the beat also to go more aggressive. So it's unlikely that they all kind of turn around now and immediately go to the Roadhog. And the second thing is, then was this a threat that he eliminated with the sleep? And this is a bit debatable, but in my opinion, no. Why? Because just in this moment, Lucio used the beat. So all of you, like the Roadhog cannot kill anybody for the next 4 or 5 seconds for sure, because you have like so much shield, there is no way that he can be a threat in this moment. So because of these two reasons, I would say the sleep dart is definitely not needed right now, because you already use kind of defensive abilities, aka the Lucio at this moment. And the same thing also for the anti-nade, you try to anti him, because obviously there would be a nice kind of opportunity for your team to go for him. But as we discussed before, your team is pushing aggressively to the right side. So right now, even though your team is like splitting their attention right now, which is not good, it would be way clear for me that my team wants to push right now here. And there we you look maybe for aggressive nades there, because as you completely said correctly, or like did correctly, right now you're so defensively boosted up with the Lucio ultimate that you don't really need any defensive uses of the nade, basically. Alright, and now obviously the Lucio ult is gone. This would be a way better opportunity to kind of try to save the runner with the nade, or maybe even now in this moment kind of trying to anti-nade the Roadhog or somebody else, because my team is already kind of in the intention of keep pushing. Let's speed this up a little bit to go for the next cooldowns. Which is basically the first one is the sleep dart on the Reaper, as we saw. And what about this little sleep dart? Again, do you give your team offensive possibility with this case? Even let's just imagine you hit the sleep dart on the Reaper, right? I would say, yeah, okay, like he gets slapped right now. He's in the kind of in our whole team, so there would be a possibility for us to follow up. But on the other case, do we really need him to get slapped? Isn't he like already in a position where, let's just imagine, right, he has no fate in this moment, then your Roadhog would hit. This Mei would kind of sleep him, would freeze him and so on. Like everybody is already focusing him, and there's kind of 0.2 seconds of stun that kind of the sleep causes wouldn't really like be the big of a deal, I would say. And then the other thing is the nade, which obviously is like straight off amazing, but we have to say, I mean, we both know this was not the purpose of this nade. Like this nade was meant for your Roadhog to heal him up, because he got hooked and he was like low HP right now. Right, like he got hooked and you want obviously to heal him up so that he does not die. And then the runner had no shield up and immediately kind of bam, you antied everybody. So in this case, was it necessary for your Roadhog to, like for you to use this nade to kind of heal Roadhog up? Definitely, because right in this moment, the Roadhog was not in a safe position. He was surrounded from all the enemies, and you want to use the cooldowns, for example also a lamp on the Baptiste, for example a speed boost in Lucio, and any other defensive cooldowns that your team has to save this Roadhog. So you anti-nade there, or your nade that you threw, completely perfect. And obviously, yeah, you die against this Reaper, which is unfortunate. Imagine maybe you could have just saved the sleep dart, and you could have sleep darted him the moment kind of he went aggressive onto you, then maybe they would have survived in this moment. But yeah, let's jump to the next fight. So here we are in the last fight, or potentially last fight, if we are winning this one. And let's see what's happening. Again, great cooldown usage from your team. Was it necessary to use the nade there? Maybe not, because obviously there was already kind of, the rider was already so low HP, or like in such a bad position, that I think the nade would have not made much. And he got shielded anyways, right? Again, the sleep dot, I mean, sure, if you hit, would be great, but to be honest, if you just like left click the Mercy there instead of like trying to sleep her, this would do the same deal, right? And we have then still the sleep dot up for maybe a way more important moment when the Mercy wants to rest, or when somebody else of the enemy team kind of tries and helps them aggressively, or helps them in any way. And we have also here, where we just saw the problem of the scoped in again, right? Because you were scoped in, you don't really see that a junket kind of gets damage in this moment, and you kind of missed the opportunity for your nade. Now, was this really a problem of being scoped in? We can like kind of debate a little bit about this, right? Like you were also like trying to kill the Mercy there on the one hand. On the other hand, you could have also saved the junket. Generally speaking, when it comes to the situation, you always want to save somebody compared to damage somebody, but I think this is something we can definitely look over. Now there would be a great opportunity, right, for you to use the sleep dot on the Roadhog if you would have had them like 1 second earlier. But it was still in the cooldown. Now you sleep the Ryan there. Now at this mention, was this a good sleep dot on the Reinhardt? He is not really a threat for you, or like he's not a threat for anybody. So you now choose basically to sleep him because he's in our backline. Nobody is really around him. So I think, yeah, this could be a good opportunity for your team, or especially your Reinhardt, to just kind of go aggressive into him because your Roadhog or the enemy Roadhog is using his whole log anyways. So I think, yeah, this was a really nice sleep dot. The same with also the anti-nade here. This was right next to your Ryan, and there was a follow-up potential. So yeah, this was great. Now the same trick here again. In this moment, right, like, first of all, was it a threat? I mean, not really. Like, of course, there's a Reinhardt in front of you, which is, generally speaking, always a threat. But if you're, like, too close range, but you're, like, 200 HP, there's no one-shot potential for him. And to be honest, you could easily also run away. And he's also not a threat to anybody else. Now, could you use the sleep dot to kind of look for look for an opening to kill him? Maybe, but your team is already attacking him right away, right? Like, they will not wait for you to sleep him, and obviously we all expect that he will put a shield up any second. So in this case, I think the risk of missing or like not using the sleep dot correctly compared to the value that you get of sleeping him for maybe 0.2 seconds doesn't really pay out. Now think about your position also, right? The team obviously knows where it is. Great combo there on the Tracer. This was really good, especially also with the nade usage. Now you want to go for an aggressive sleep dot again. You can argue, okay, you had this the beat up from the Lucio, right? So you can look for aggressive opportunities. You sleep dot the Ryan in this case to obviously provide your soldier opportunity. I'm okay with this. You can also say you just keep it for like other situations, but that's even that bad. And you actually managed to make it get it out here. No, but now you die. Alright, like this was kind of more like a problem of the positioning at the start, right? After you kind of killed the Tracer, this was the like maximum amount of time that he could have stayed there. Because if you go back to the situation, like right in this moment, obviously the enemy team knows that they're here, and they're already pushed up through the whole point almost. So I would kind of use this moment where especially Lucio use a sound barrier where nobody can die now anyways, to rotate in a more safer position so they can that we basically can make sure that the fights keep going for a longer while until your reinforcement come in, and then maybe we have a chance to still win this fight. But you just staying here so aggressive without basically giving your team much of a chance to help you in any case, it is just not the right decision in my opinion. Alright, let's summarize. So the first thing I saw was definitely that you're scoped in too often. The negative factors, I already mentioned them in the review itself, but the most important thing is that because you're scoped in so often, you don't really see what is happening around you. And this reduces your effectiveness a lot, because if you cannot see what's happening, you can also not react and have a positive impact on the outcome. The second thing is your positioning. There, I think the best thing would be just a better preparation for it, aka you think before the fight starts, where will the fight most likely happen, where's a position that you can be really effective in, and then the third thing is, what are the risks for this position that you're staying and how do you deal with them. It will not always be the best decision ever, but if you think about this all the time, then over the time you have better experiences and you can judge the situations better. And the third thing was the cooldown usage, as you already mentioned. The cooldown usage is where the number one thing you have to think about is, first of all, do I deny the enemy a kill opportunity, or do I give our team a kill opportunity with them? Don't be so trigger happy. Make sure that when you use the cooldowns that they actually have impact. Especially on Ana, you have cooldowns which have a relatively long cooldown, like a cooldown, which makes it problematic. Now, was it your team's fault that you lost this game, or did you just not carry enough? Like, if you want to carry, the way you carry with Ana is to make sure that every tight fight your team takes, they're actually winning it. So use your cooldowns actually for moments where it matters for your team, and not just try to solo kill a roadhog on the left side where nobody will follow up anyways. So in conjunction, you suck. Now, thank you for watching. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel for more upcoming Overwatch content. Bye bye.